Now, let's talk about recruiting because signing day is in 2 days, basically a day and a half now. Not even that, just a day basically. And Texas loses a recruit, today or yesterday, and Joseph Mbachu, 4-star defensive lineman from Florida. It's going to be very interesting to see how they replace him. If they do replace him, I'm sure they will in the transfer portal at least, and how this plays out, because I think this is going to be the craziest signing day just with all the NIL money. And I think there's a lot of desperate coaches that Texas is going against as well. If you think about it, like Billy Napier is desperate. His job depends on this recruiting class and how next season goes. Brian Kelly is desperate. His job depends on this recruiting class and how it goes. He's already lost his crown jewel in Bryce Underwood. Brent Venables is desperate. Can he keep Michael Fasusi in the boat for this next year and put an offensive line in front of whoever the quarterback's going to be? And they just hired Benjamin Arbuckle. All the OU insiders have said that's a done deal, basically. So it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of guys that Texas is going against that are desperate. And guess what? They're going to overpay. So all I'm saying is buckle up, Texas fans. Don't worry. It will take care of itself. Sark's done a great job with this recruiting class. But what do you think is going to come down this next couple weeks, Gerald?
I think it's funny that this is my third show, my second Monday show, and I've already had to talk about a player's commitment and decommitment in both those shows. It's hilarious. It's just funny. But I think ultimately, this is recruiting among the big boys, right? This is what it is. This is not Mac Brown in 2005 having a class cinched up before the start of the season. That's not the case anymore. And so I think we just have to get on board with this roller coaster. Texas is not really going to, or rarely, I will say, get outbid for a player they truly want, right? That's not what's going to happen. Ultimately for Texas, it's going to be a matter of finding the right fit, finding the right player, and then compensating them. Because the guys that Texas is going after are going to get paid wherever they go. And everybody's going to want to pay them, right? It just is what it is. It's the reality of the situation. So when push comes to shove, this is what recruiting amongst the big boys is nowadays. You have to be prepared for the roller coaster. You can't be Chicken Little on the Tuesday before signing day. You just can't do it. It's not going to work out. So I don't know what's going to – it looks like from everything I'm reading, Fasusi's probably not going to end up in that OU class, which I don't hate. We don't really have much clarity on where he's going to end up. That's probably the last him and there are a couple of skill players that maybe Texas is going to poke at and prod at. We'll see how it works out. But, ultimately – Texas is in a good spot. They've got a good class. They've addressed most, if not all, the needs already. Like the way that Sark has created his recruiting class, it's almost like the next iteration of how Mac Brown used to recruit, where it seems like they take care of the bare necessities early. They get it cinched up, before the season, coming out of that June, July visit window. And then they spend the entire season big game hunting. And so that, to me, it's the right strategy. Texas, and with that, you're going to miss on some players around signing day, and it's going to feel a little lackluster at times because most of the class, again, the core parts of the class are going to be locked up September, August, September, October. So November, December come around, you may have one or two big ones pop. You may not have one or two big ones pop. But that's, again, it's a smart strategy from Sark, and it's part of recruiting at this high level. Texas is among the giants in the recruiting realm at this point, and that's just part of the game.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so on Michael Fasusi, everything that I've heard, read, seen, basically, I don't think it's going to be OU. Who knows at this point? Because literally last week, it seemed like he was going to be OU. But as of this moment, I think it's probably going to honestly be A&M. I think there's just a slight lean there, which it would suck. So we lose him to OU, and then we probably could lose him to A&M. I think that's a slight lean. Like, guys, I would not put money on either side of that. I'm not confident in it. The only two guys I'm confident in at this point, from everything I've seen, everything I've read, is Kellen Wiley. I think it's come down to Maryland and Texas. Like, if Texas wants him, he will be going to Texas. Maryland is not outbidding Texas, if that's what it comes down to. And he also likes the whole package of Texas, like the school and also the football program. So that's a good thing. So it's down to those two. His teammate did commit to Maryland. We'll see if that has any sway. Usually, honestly, it really doesn't have that much sway if you look at it. And then Michael Terry, for the longest time, what I've heard is seen to be a silent commit to Texas. We'll see if that turns out to be true. His dad said today that it's good and done. Like, wherever he's going, he knows where he's going. It's just going to be a surprise to everyone else on signing day. or to most people on signing day. I think he ends up at Texas. Those are the two I would say you know what? I'm willing to bet on those two at Texas. Everyone else, I have no idea. Like today's being reported, there's going to be a big flip. Multiple sites have reported it. I've seen it. I've heard about it. I don't know who that is.
Nope.
Your guess is as good as mine. Do you want to say it could be DeCorian Moore? Sure, even though I don't think that's really a possibility right now. Could it be Dallas Wilson, who's also committed to Oregon? Possibly, which would be interesting. He's never visited Texas, but Texas has been begging him to come on campus and offered him. Yeah. Lamont Rogers decommitted from Missouri today, even though I kind of see that as an A&M lean as well. We'll have to see. Who knows? Could it be Ty Haywood? Could he just completely flip from Alabama to, it seems like Michigan now, to Texas? Possibly. We will see. Javion Hilson, I guess, went completely silent today on everyone recruiting him, on every school. So to me, that tells me he's in the lab just mulling over where he wants to go. And most likely, guys, it would not shock me. He wakes up tomorrow, he knows exactly where he goes. That's the kind of thing I'm thinking about if you're going to just shut everyone out for a day. So it's going to be a very, very interesting signing day. A day now, basically. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah. I will come here with I'll make some videos about whoever decides to jump in the class. I'm really excited to see who that big one is. Maybe it's Justice Terry wouldn't be flipping, but every report out there seems like his family and him, or his family especially, want him to stay close. So that does not bode well for Texas, because every school in the running is either in Alabama or Georgia. Texas is definitely farther away than from Georgia than those places. So we'll see what happens there. I honestly think, though, if Texas pays him the amount of money and offers, hey, you know what? If it's your family so far away, hey, maybe we can throw in some free plane tickets or whatever, private flights back home. Like that, he's that type of prospect where he could command that type of stuff. So it's going to be interesting. I would love to have him. I mean, he's definitely a plug and play guy, in my opinion. I think there's really only like 2 or 3 of those guys left in like all the country. So Texas is in play for 2 of them. I think Michael Fasusi's that same way, and I think Justice Terry's that same way. It's going to be interesting. Texas has a path to the number 1 class. It's a narrow one. You have to flip Fasusi, you have to sign Justice Terry, and you have to keep Justice Terry and keep Michael Terry. If you do that, I think they end up with the number 1 class, but it's going to be hard to do. I think they're going to get one of the 3 for sure. It's going to be hard to get all 3.
I mean, I think a top 3 class is still really good for this group. Like that's it. The worst this group is going to end up is like 3 to 5, and that's exactly where Texas stacking top 5 classes is how you build the dynasty. And so obviously you want the number 1 class and you want all those things, but like Texas is going to hit on who they need to hit on. There's probably going to be a miss or 2 in there, but again, this is recruiting with the big boys. You cannot live and die by every update and every social media post. And I know all of the rabid message board fans, I'm one of them. I'm on the message boards as well, right? I know we live and die on every tweet, and we read all the subtext. I put out a dumb joke once, and people thought I was trying to give hints at somebody committing. I was like, no, I'm just making jokes about Kyle Flip being awesome. Like, let's just deal with it, right? But ultimately, like, we'll find out in like 36 hours how it's going to end up.
Yeah, 100%. And a couple names that just came to my mind that could also be a part of that. If you want to speculate, the big guy flipping, I think Devin Sanchez is in that list, the big-time 5-star at a North Shore, committed to Ohio State. Dorian Brews also on that list, committed to Oregon. I'm forgetting another cornerback, too. That's a big name that could also flip. But there's definitely that group as well. If it's anyone other than those 5 or 6 guys I named, I literally have no idea who else it could be. Like, this person, if it's any of those, if it's not one of those 5 or 6, then it's basically someone who has not been on Texas's radar this whole time. And you know what? They gave him a call up and they're like, you want to come here? We got some money for you, and we'd love to have you. But I can't think of anyone else.
I've got nothing.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. Signing days has gotten even more exciting now. And the portal, which is so dumb. I still don't understand this, opens the 8th. So it opens the day the college football playoff is announced, which makes no sense. But the college football has kind of been wrecked for a while in the dates and rules and everything they've written. So why not keep it that way, I guess. So that's very interesting.
I mean, hands are a little tied with spring semester enrollments and people taking visits and doing that. It is a lose-lose situation in a lot of ways, but ultimately it's just another thing. That's what the money's for all these coaches, right? It's what the money's for.
Yeah, and the portal being open, like some of the names that have gone in, there's some really good players. Like Micah Hudson's a good player. Kevin Concepcion from North Carolina State. That would be someone like if Matthew Golden goes to the NFL, which I think he might. I'm not 100% sure on that yet. you're going to lose Bond. If you lose both of them, I wouldn't mind going after Kevin Concepcion or Micah Hudson. If you don't lose Golden, though, I don't really see any point at that point because you would have all those freshmen plus the guys still on the bench, and you would have Matthew Golden. I wouldn't really see a point. If you lose Golden, I have no issue with going after, a older wide receiver at that position, but we'll have to see what happens.
I would be shocked. Like, this is not a shot at the kid, but like just the way that the Hudson recruitment went down.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see if they kick the tires on it. They probably will. There's reports that he has interest in Texas, but that recruitment was so weird.
Yeah, he kind of trolled Texas there for a little bit, so it'd be interesting. It was kind of like the Evan Stewart one as well, and all the Texas fans were like, go after Evan Stewart, going after Evan Stewart, and like Texas just did not seem interested in all at Evan Stewart, so that could turn out to be the case, even though I think Micah Hudson was actually rated higher than Evan Stewart coming out of high school, so it'll be interesting. But those are some of the early names. I know Texas won't be interested in this, but Caden Salter going in from Liberty. He's a good quarterback, so someone will get a good player there as well.
Yep. There's going to be some moving pieces for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And it's weird because there's not going to be as many coaches fired this year, so that'll be very interesting. Again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. It really helps out the channel. Check out the Amazon